Why, hello there, Exile. Today we're going to be talking about the changes in 3.21 to Wave of Conviction. Now, excuse my lack of enthusiasm because I'm not like, oh, gee golly, I can't wait to play a worse version of the build that I just played last league for like 200 hours. Here's a demo after I removed all the nerfed gear. It's on a Super Juice map, tier 16, focused around farming Legion, Expedition, and then I'm focusing on blue altars here. Now, we still don't really notice a difference on those chain cascades. The only difference is we're missing some damage, especially on the bosses or really hard rares. As you can see here, this is a pretty rippy map. But I wanted to demo this on a map that is probably harder than what you're going to run, so it's going to be easier than whatever you're seeing here. And then I also like to grab all the altars that increase the quantity and rarity. So what I usually do is go through and clear the map, get those altars taken care of, kill the boss. Then I'll pop the Legion early on, and then I'll do the Expedition at the end. Yeah, it takes me a little while to clear all this stuff, but I find it fun, and I like these mechanics because they give me returns pretty much guaranteed every single time. And I just enjoy the mechanic. I'm happy with the trade-off of what I get out of it. Now, as you'll notice there, because we're already stacking crazy amounts of damage there, some of this stuff is pretty sketchy, especially with the new molten shell change. I don't know if I would die in some of those places like there. Potentially. But this is like pretty close to max content that you're probably going to run, outside of maybe running the Delirium on maps. And it performs well with Delirium Mirrors or Delirium as well. And I'm kind of taking my time. I probably shouldn't be looting this stuff because the league is almost over and I'm not sure I even care, but okay, whatever. I guess I'm just showing you what your real life experience is probably going to be, because I'm sure you're not like balls to the wall trying to play most efficiently, or maybe you are, but I don't do that at all times. What am I trying to be, a professional? No, not exactly. Trying to focus more on fun here. But we have a little Harbinger here. It'll just kill it in the waves. One other thing to note is that we do Wave of Conviction, and it's hitting across the entire screen because I invested in AoE and because I leveled the gems, so it has increased duration. When you first use Wave of Conviction, if you don't invest in that AoE or have the gem leveled and don't grab the mastery that gives 15% duration, it's going to be a really, really short wave. But this one, it'll go almost off screen. So you kind of cast the wave and then you kind of leap slam through it. Now, when we're doing the Expedition, you got to worry about like 3 mods. One of the mods is Fire Immune, one is Chaos Immune, and the other one is 100% reduced duration of ailments, or no, it's ailment avoidance. It's 100% ailment avoidance. Your ignites aren't going to go off, which is where all your damage comes from, and you'll do no damage. So like here, we got that Chaos one. So now I got to be very careful about where I do it. Oh, well, there's a Fire one. So I guess perfect example. So now we got a place to do both of those. But I don't know. For some reason, these like little mini puzzles stimulate me. Some people love Expedition. Some people hate it. For me, I like it. All right, pose. Now we got to avoid that. Be careful. So I got to put over here. All right. And there. One more. Now for this build, basically you just let the whole thing spawn. And then we go and screw around, and then we come back and then just kind of clear it all in one swoop. That was a rare monster. And look what I've grabbed so far. Tons and tons of crazy stuff that make me take increased damage. And here we go. We're just Wave of Convictioning along. If I would have let the last thing spawn, it would have died in the initial hit there, but I got a little bit ahead of myself. But there you go. That's a map clear. Now, a lot of people think it's just that fire mastery that has 20% fire damage over time multiplier, But actually, in my version, there's unfortunately a lot of little changes that kind of stack up. It was really busted last league. It's still going to be in a good spot. Then I'm going to go ahead and talk about some changes that I'm going to make in the build because I'm going to be league starting this. I'll eventually put out, probably tomorrow, revised league starter leveling and early mapping setup. So make sure that you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on that. First, let's talk about what we're losing for Sanctum. We knew we were going to lose these things anyways. So I had a really nice relic that had 20% fire damage over time. And then I used the Call of Arms. The reason why I did that is because I put Enduring Cry on my left click, and then I would just get free endurance charges all the time with some extra recovery. So basically I'm losing 20% fire damage over time multiplier. I'm losing my endurance charges. Then there's this jewel. Whenever I cast Elemental Weakness, I gain 39% physical as a random element. And so basically we would Wave of Conviction, Elemental Weakness, Flammability, Wave of Conviction again. On the second one, it would get that. So we're losing this, and that's kind of a little bit of damage on the front end, which scales the Ignite. Now let's talk about the mastery changes. They remove this 40% increased effect of non-damaging ailments, and then they also remove this gain 10% physical as extra damage. I had, on my previous version of the build, gain 10% physical as extra here, and then over here I had 40% increased effect of non-damaging ailments. Then here I had Vitality as 100% increased mana reservation efficiency. To counteract this, we now have to spend essentially 3 points. I had to get Mana Node, and then I had to get this reduced mana cost, or you can get the new node, but I still have to have this in my helm. So it just basically, they decided we needed to waste more points. Then they removed this 20% fire damage over time multiplier, which I could use the -5 resist for fire exposure. Then they removed the 12% chance to suppress spell damage. Your boots, helmet, and gloves have evasion. So that kind of sucks as well. So lots of mastery losses here, and we didn't really gain any compensation that I think is meaningful for it. So I'm not sure it's even worth grabbing this, but then we have a dex problem. I'm not sure it's worth going over here either if we're going to anoint this. So we likely, in a later version of the build, when I actually get to playing with it, I probably will path this way because it'll solve my dex problem and some of my strength problem. So I'll get rid of this, I'll get rid of all of this, and solve problems that way. Then the last change is Molten Shell. The half the amount that can be absorbed. So that's probably going to hurt all builds, not just this one. It is what it is, I suppose. Here's a quick summary of all the things that we lost. You could see at the top the Molten Shell, then it's all the masteries, and then at the bottom are the Sanctum specific things. Instead of using cast on damage taken, I'll just put Molten Shell on my left click and let it auto trigger since I no longer have Enduring Cry. And then that's going to free me up to maybe use an Animate Guardian with 3 to 4 links. This is the setup that I plan on going with the Animate Guardian. So we have Dying Breath. That's going to give us a little bit of increased damage. But more importantly, it's going to increase the effect of our curses. So that's going to give us a little bit more minus resist, like 10. Then Legacy of Fury. So I don't have to worry about getting close or dropping Scorched Ground underneath the thing. It'll just happen automatically. I have Malice so that I don't have to wear that helm. I have the flexibility to go with a different helm. Bruthos Pelt, that's because it gives 10% life regen per second, which will keep the Animate Guardian alive, otherwise it's going to die. And then lastly, some resist gloves that have lightning and chaos res because the Eye of Malice helmet already has fire and cold res, so that'll just balance the resists out. Now, for this league, if there's some cool stuff on staves, we'll be able to get our Animate Guardian a staff, and we're essentially then wearing 2 weapons and a shield with the new league mechanics. Then I'm also going to use a cluster like this to grab Ignite Prolif instead of having to have it on the gloves. Plus it gives this recovery, which is really nice. I never in the entire league could hit the 15. You basically had to use an orb to get to 14, then another one to upgrade or downgrade. The 5 times I tried, I lost money, so I lost easily 30 divines trying to hit that. So yeah, not going to do that again. And then fire exposure already is baseline in Wave of Conviction, so I don't need that other than that helping the cascades from the obliteration wand. So I have more flexibility in the gloves, and I can grab maybe 20% fire damage over time multiplier on the gloves to compensate for that mastery loss. Here's the gear for the people who don't use POB. And here's the gems. And then I killed the bandits, and I'm using Soul of the Brine King in combination with Soul of Abrath. You could check out my endgame build guide here from last league that explained the build in more detail if you'd like to know more.